Welcome back, LCSers. I'm joined here at the analyst table by Lee Smith and Martin the Fisho Lunge to break down that match between the Copenhagen Wolves and Alliance. Pretty uneventful, I would say. Just kidding. What a game by the Copenhagen Wolves. Let's take it back to the beginning, because as we saw so often from them, going for that late game comp again and maybe worrying their fans, are they going to try the same thing once again? But it was a lot better.
I was a little bit scared in the start when I saw the pick and bans, because normally when they play these late game comps, they play very aggressive, like we saw here, but more team fight based early on. They end up losing the team fights and therefore also lose the games. They had weak lanes. I mean, the Twitch wouldn't be able to do much against taps on the Cogmore, and at the same time, we had Rise in mid lane against Orianna here. So what Copenhagen Wolves did was just swap them around. Put Woolite mid on Twitch here, completely surprised Alliance, and then of course send Kaos bot lane to 1v2 by himself. A little bit weird, he could actually farm 1v2 against a Nami, who should be able to bubble him on the tower, also with Ignite, and therefore try and maybe kill him or force him away, but he managed to farm pretty well. And overall, the pick comp then from the Wolves really worked once they got going.
But that's also the problem. You talked about the Nami in there. Nif wasn't there too much because he was too busy worrying about what the hell is going on in the jungle. Airwax and Unlimited were just non-stop roaming. And we talked about the wards earlier on. I'm going to jump straight to that one, because the ward control, Copenhagen Wolves, they took down the tower early in the mid lane. Alliance just carried on like it was a normal game. They were just warding out the river. They were not focused on the fact that Airwax was in their jungle the entire game alongside Unlimited, and they were just ganking freely, non-stop.
The Fisho, as a support, what could Nif or any of the other guys have done to put the vision wards down or the wards down so that the game would go back in their favor, or is there no way at that point?
Of course there's a way. I mean, as Lee just said, don't put your wards in the river only once your mid tower is gone, because the enemy team is going to run into your jungle, and yes, you might see them run into the jungle, but if you don't know what they're doing in there, what does it matter? I mean, he could run to top lane, bot lane, whatever Airwax wanted to do, and it meant every time Copenhagen was... every time Alliance tried to farm or pick a fight, Airwax would just show up, turn it around, get another kill for the Wolves here. So it's a team effort. Everyone, they had to buy wards. As soon as you fall so far behind and you lose your mid tower early, everyone needs to buy wards. You need to place them inside your own jungle as well so you can see what's going on, and then just try and farm. Don't look for fights. Alliance did the same thing. They walk into the blue buff of Copenhagen Wolves while they're already very far behind. Nif got caught out of position, I believe it was, died instantly, and then Copenhagen Wolves chased them off, got 2 more kills, and I'm not even sure why Alliance were trying to contest the blue buff while you're already like 5,000 gold behind after 15 minutes.
Lee, talk to me about the performance here, because we did call out the changes that have been in the team, but Airwax and Woolite, Youngbuck actually mentioned, I believe it was Airwax, he just came up with the plan, but there's a big difference between coming up with the plan and actually executing it the way he did in this game.
Yeah, and remember, these guys are new to the split. They are only on their, 7th week now in the LCS. Brand new players, replacing, of course, Forgiven and Amazing, who's gone off across the team. Solo Min's doing fantastic over there. So there was big shoes to fill coming into this one. A lot of pressure on them. But Woolite, 11-0-2 in that game on Twitch. The first time we've seen him going absolutely crazy aggressive. He's played some good champions, and we were talking about how well he's actually been doing. He's got a great KDA. You were referencing it yesterday. He has now surpassed Forgiven in kills in the entire spring split. Forgiven's had 80 kills, didn't he? Now he's already passed that as well. So he's doing actually a very good job. And finally, the rest of the team step up alongside him.
Yeah, let's turn our attention then to Alliance. Copenhagen Wolves, great game, but they still have a game coming up versus the SK game to see what they can do. On the other hand, Alliance, what was it, the Fisho, in this game? Was it overconfidence? Was it not preparing enough?
Well, overconfidence was definitely a part of it, and then really being surprised by Copenhagen Wolves being so aggressive in lane swaps and in the early invades where they managed to get an early kill on Froggen as well. I think Alliance just went into the game saying, you know what, we just standard lanes, we just farm up, we go to team fights, we win the game, move on, and that's about it. Focus on Fnatic later in the day. And instead, Copenhagen Wolves just completely surprised them, outplayed them on every single part they could, and just won the game. So overconfidence, definitely for Alliance. And they had issues against Copenhagen Wolves in London as well, where the game was like 50 minutes long, it was back and forth, they could have lost it. So I feel like they really need to make sure once they play these lower ranked teams, especially like the Copenhagen Wolves, they take them very serious and prepare properly.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we see in traditional sports all the time. The bottom team suddenly beats the top team, and everyone's like, what just happened? Especially after they beat SK Gaming in 21 minutes yesterday. So just simple overconfidence, lack of preparation. I don't know what it was going into it. But of course, on the Copenhagen Wolves side, they can go into this game, nothing to lose. Absolutely play freely. And maybe that's what they need to do in the next match, of course, against SK Gaming. You heard Youngbuck talking about it. They're pretty confident right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know what it is. It's the EU LCS, and we love it. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. And now we're going to send it back over to Joe in a quick shot.
Thank you very much, Shucks. Before Joe talks, I want to have a mini rant, because I hate the negative connotation attached to the word cheese. First of all, cheese implies something that is unique, something that is slightly against the norm or against the meta, which is what Copenhagen Wolves did. But the way they played, the way they controlled vision, and the way they prevented Alliance reacting means they can definitely do that again. If they play to that level and land their skill shots and make the dives, that is just a different style of play. It was incredible to see, and I'm blown away. And there's a lot of talk and cheese, they can never do it again. I'd like them to do it again to prove everyone wrong, because, hell, break the norm, beat the #1 team in Europe, and maybe that's the way to topple empires. I'm done.
Your blood pressure is going to be getting high. You need to be careful not to blow a blood vessel from that one. Well, guys, the next game of the last weekend for both Millennium and the Super Hot crew is coming your way. Millennium secured, of course, that win against Gambit yesterday, and what an incredible victory it was. But earlier this week, they lost matches to both Fnatic and to Roccat. Sadly, Millennium have continued their heavy swings in performance, and it's just very hard to predict or anticipate which Millennium will show up on the day.
Yes, and maybe for Wolves in the future. So when Millennium lost to Fnatic and Roccat, they ran a different style of composition than what we're used to seeing from them. And we keep talking about how we want them to expand to different comps, but the problem is Millennium clearly demonstrate a lack of ability to perform with them. So for example, Kerp went back to playing Ziggs. He also played Lulu, and his stats on those two champions were combined 7, 8, and 7. But when playing against Gambit, he returned to an Assassin with Fizz, and the rest of his team played pick champions. He ended up going 3, 4, 13. Half the deaths, nearly double the assists. It's just clear that Millennium are more comfortable and more confident on those in-your-face Assassin pick-type champions.
And for the Super Hot crew, they were decimated by Alliance on day one. Well, they bounced back to fend off and outplay SK Gaming in the super late game, and then they were dominated. They managed to dominate the Wolves yesterday as well.
Yes, they did, and I was very surprised and impressed with how Super Hot crew handled SK Gaming in the mid to late game play. I think their map play, the positioning, was a marked improvement over last week's, and while it was slow and safe, it actually was exactly what the Super Hot crew wanted to do. Yesterday, I also called on Impaler, saying I think he needs to step up his game if he wants to help his team secure wins. And he also told me to sit down and shut up, because he went 11, 4, and 25 on the day. He went unkilled on Elise in one of his games, and he just had a very massive impact at all stages of the games in both of his matches yesterday. He'll be looking to do the same today.
Well, both of these teams have a lot of respect for each other, with the Super Hot crew praising the addition of KottenX and Millennium highlighting kaSing's innovative gameplay. Well, Super Hot crew's Impaler is wary of Millennium's flexibility and hopes to improve their record against them.
I think Millennium has got strong players all along, and KottenX really filled the role of the jungler they need. Because Aronea had a very set way of playing. He'd get level 3 and then gank every lane. But KottenX is now, I think, a lot more strategical, and he applies pressure where it's needed rather than just pressure everywhere.
They have a bit the same problem as us. They haven't really come together like as one. They aren't really on 100% on the same page. And I think that's why they have kind of a shaky performance.
I think we're 1-5 against them in the last 2 splits. I don't know if we don't respect them enough or whatever it is. We just can't beat them.
I think kaSing is one of the most talented supports in solo queue, at least. He innovates the most random things.
He plays a lot of unusual stuff, usually in solo queue, but here in LCS he's been stacking more to meta champions.
Having a fresh mindset is really beneficial to everyone anyway.
They've got all these good players together who can work as a team instead of just kind of doing the same regime every game. They're a lot more flexible, and now they're a lot more flexible, they can win a lot more games.
Flexibility the key for Millennium, but not too flexible, because you've seen when they're out of their comfort zone, they just don't perform.
Yeah, I completely agree. One of the things that I like about the Super Hot crew side of the story is kaSing plays oddball champions in solo queue, which makes it easier to play well on your main champions on the stage, landing those skill shots, different styles, and having a diverse knowledge base helps you make the right decision at the right time.
Well, let's check out then the starting lineups for our teams. On the blue side, it's Millennium, with Kevin in the top lane, KottenX in the jungle, Kerp in the mid lane, Creaton the AD carry, and Jree the support.
And on the red side, it is the Super Hot crew, with Mimer in the top lane, Impaler in the jungle, SELFIE playing mid lane, MrRalleZ an AD carry, and kaSing in the support role.
So before the players head onto the Rift, let's see how you guys called this game. According to LolEsports.com, 60% of you voted for Millennium. That's an interesting one.
It really is. You know, if you look at the two teams, you kind of feel like Super Hot Crew have got a little more support behind them in the bigger picture. And if you look at both of their records, they're both at 9 and 8, tied for 4th place on the ladder. So this game is actually going to determine who will get 4th and who's going to take that 3rd place spot. Or rather, who's going to fall to 5th place, if my math works out correctly. And I think if Millennium get ahead, that's how they control the game. If they don't get ahead, I feel like Super Hot Crew have got a better strategic and macro level game to counterbalance Millennium's weaknesses.
So let's talk picks and bans then, and where we're going to be focused on in this one. In fact, we are just going to get into picks and bans, so we can quickly touch on where the focus is going to be.
Kale, probably a Yasuo ban against SELFIE. Kassadin ban on the blue side for Millennium. It's something they always do. And my question is, does Impaler get his hands on Lee Sin or Elise? He has shown just how good he is on Elise. I believe he went 8-0-9 yesterday, if memory serves. And it is a champion that should, and most likely is, going to get banned against Impaler many times in the future.
Well, we see the first 3 bans for Millennium, or the only 3 bans, of course. Kale, Yasuo, and Kassadin continuing that trend of taking away Kassadin, whether they're on the blue or the red side. And for the Super Hot Crew, also focusing on Kerp there. Ziggs taken away, Twisted Fate taken away. Who is the final ban going to be? It's Irelia taking that away from Kevin.
Yeah, and in terms of the mid lane bans, Millennium do hinge on Kerp's performance, and Super Hot Crew do also hinge on SELFIE's performance. While MrRalleZ can carry and Impaler has the ability to feed the other lanes, generally, if SELFIE's slightly off his game, the Super Hot Crew are not picking up those wins. So that's probably one of the primary reasons for a lot of this mid lane focus in terms of those bans. And the real question is, what does Super Hot Crew prioritize? With Lee Sin off the table and not available, there's no real rush for Impaler to grab a jungle Elise. But on the same token, they could deny the likes of an Aatrox and Irelia or something like that in the top lane against Kevin if Mimer wanted to go that route.
I think we might be seeing a Lucian pick as well in this first round for MrRalleZ. We'll see about that. Of course, Lee Sin was first picked in there, and we see time and time again that KottenX really performs well when it comes to Lee Sin, and that's something that Super Hot Crew have got to be real wary about today.
I agree, and seeing the Elise lock in, the alternative strategy, as opposed to denying a pick by locking it in, it allows you to be counter-picked. In this scenario, being on the red side, having 2 more picks after Millennium reveal something more, is going to give them the option to counter-pick that AD carry like you talked about. Twitch is available, and you've just seen how powerful Twitch plus Braum can be in terms of roaming. And Elise can do a similar role as, you know, KottenX can do on Lee Sin. You know, early ganks, get the cocoons down, get in people's faces. So this is just a slightly different approach to the game for Super Hot Crew, looking for those counter picks and trying to come out ahead in terms of picks and bans.
So Lucian was left open from that, and Millennium seemed to want that straight away for Creaton. So that's locked in along with a Jax for the top lane. With that Irelia being banned away by the Super Hot Crew, Kevin feeling like he can move on to Jax and come up with the goods in this one. Now for the Super Hot Crew, AD carry, I'm expecting that mid lane pick is just going to be left till last so that they can counter pick it.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's something that you do see actually a little less often these days on red side. It used to be the de facto thing, but now we are seeing mid lane picks coming up earlier. And MrRalleZ really thinking about which AD carry he wants to run. You've got magic damage in your jungle already. And if they do run the likes of a Corki, you generally do that in your AD carry role if you're looking for more magic damage. So really thinking about the options that they want to go for. And Ryze has definitely become a bit of a sleeper pick this week. In Super Week, we've been seeing him significantly more. And SELFIE, once again, going to be running that late game scaling champion.
Interesting pick up that. Could, of course, also end up with Mimer in the top lane, let's not forget. See if that Ryze gets spread about the map a little bit more. Twitch also taken here for MrRalleZ. So it's going to be on that champion. What a Millennium looking for. Mid laner and a support pick here. Neither of which is Twitch, is Teemo.
Dare I say it, but the Super Hot Crew have got the makings of the Copenhagen Wolves comp from the previous game. You know, very similar playstyle in terms of finding picks, in terms of late game scaling. And, you know, you were touching on the support and the mid laner. What works for Millennium is when they have heavy engage. Yesterday, I was looking at Jree's Thresh pick and saying, yes, Jree rather has the ability to dominate with Thresh, but he also has the ability to have little to no impact, and that was the case. But as soon as he switched to his Leona in the second game of the day against Gambit, he absolutely destroyed them and played incredibly, incredibly well. So I like what I'm seeing from Millennium. They've got early game, they've got a fairly strong mid game, and if Jax can get to split push, that's where he can do well in the late game.
So what are the Super Hot crew going to finish off? Will that Rise be in the mid lane for SELFIE? Will it even head up into the top side of the map for Mimer? Although it looks like they may end up with that Shyvana against Jax. Big tanky champion's always going to be good for Mimer, actually switching out there last second and picking up the Lulu.
So Lulu making it all the way through to the last pick. And Super Hot crew have got a little bit of everything. They've got pick champions in the form of Twitch as well as Elise. They've got good team fight champions with both Lulu as well as Braum in there. And the key for them is to make sure that Kerp doesn't get ahead. If Kerp can get himself some kills early on and punish the squishy champions of Elise, Lulu, and Twitch, that can be Millennium's way into this game. But assuming the wild growth is on point and SELFIE doesn't have too much of a bad matchup in that middle lane, I think Super Hot crew can deal with the composition Millennium's put together. The key is just to contain and maintain control over Kerp's Fizz.
Definitely an interesting game coming our way here, and these two teams have, or I should say, don't have the record for being the fastest teams to be winning games, actually. So with the compositions as well, where we see stronger late game, we could be in for a long one here, but really interested to see who's come flying out of the gate. And after that Copenhagen Wolves win over Alliance, anything could really happen, couldn't it? But guys, which team comp do you think will come out ahead in this game? Tweet hashtag MIL win or hashtag SHC win to @LOL Esports, and we'll check on the results in just a little minute when we get into the game.
Yeah, and I think it really, really does hinge on how well Kerp does on this Fizz. And we've seen how well he can do on Assassins in the past. Now that LeBlanc is significantly less viable without his silence, he tried one game, did okay, but has been trending more towards the Fizz play. And if Super Hot crew want to play for the mid to late game, they played super safe and super smart against SK Gaming. They've got the option to do similar, just avoid Leona engages, as hard as that is, and they should be golden.
Well, here we go then, in-game Millennium versus Super Hot crew for our second game of this final day of Super Week. Always, well, obviously that's why it's Super Week, always so many games, 16 of them over the 3 days, and it's interesting to see the trends and the performances of teams against different opponents over the days, you know? I mean, look at the Wolves, probably a prime example of that now, looking like a new team. We'll see how Millennium and Super Hot crew have used their time overnight to get ready for this encounter.
And in terms of how important this game is, of course, it is their last games of the weekend for both Millennium and for the Super Hot crew. So ending on a win, ending on a positive note is always going to be great. And it's also somewhat of a 2-point swing because of the fact that the team that wins here will end up being, 10-8 over as opposed to a 9-9 record is always going to put you in a more positive light. So Millennium, they had the fan vote earlier, 60%, and we'll see if they can come out ahead.
60%, not a big one, well, that's for sure. Just a quick look down some of the starting items here. Kerp going with the Flask, something that we've seen him do time and time again. This is the first blow of the game coming out from kaSing onto KottenX. But looks like we're going to be seeing standard lanes here. kaSing and MrRalleZ headed down bottom. Creaton, Jree already in the Tribush, although Jax is recalling, so we'll see if there's any change gonna happen with that one, but we have Mimer on the top side of the map.
Yeah, so if there was one thing that Super Hot crew did yesterday that I feel I do want to talk about was the use of teleport. They had a teleport Jax top laner and a teleport Kassadin mid laner. And unfortunately, they didn't necessarily control the map as well. Twitter actually swinging a little in Super Hot crew's favor. Maybe not feeling the Fizz in Leona as much. And the only reason I call that out is it's going to be interesting to see how and when Mimer decides to teleport and if Super Hot crew are going to look for any sort of early dragons. With standard lanes and with having Elise on your side, they've got Elise which can allow early dragons, but standard lanes generally delay it. So I think that might be one of the first big engages we see.
So this bottom lane, Jree being fantastic with those solar flares in the last couple of weeks. We'll see if we can get things going. Kerp already taking a bit of a bashing in that mid lane from SELFIE, already having to chug through that crystalline flask right from the very get-go. And of course in the top lane we have Jax with Kevin and Rise for Mimer. See how this one goes. We see that instant level 2. Kevin diving straight in onto Mimer. And actually, Mimer going to go real low from that one. Obviously, both running flash teleport here, so no ignite to actually finish off a kill there.
Yeah, we do see kaSing and MrRalleZ. This is a very interesting lane because Twitch does have some laning presence against Lucian thanks to his passive and obviously the Contaminate. But the interesting story is having both melee supports. You seldom see Leona into Braum. You normally see the likes of Thresh or Nami, etc. And those ranged supports can punish either Leona or Braum early on. This time round, positioning is going to be key. As soon as you see kaSing and Jree going in for those last hits with the relic shields, there's always going to be the possibility and the opportunity to punish your opponent. And we'll have to see who can come out ahead.
See there again, SELFIE, who does traditionally in this early laning phase play quite aggressively, and we've seen that work out for him nicely, being able to bully out his opposite number. We've also seen him being too far up the lane and getting caught out, but that might actually fall to Kerp this time around. Impaler gonna be coming in there. Can he land a cocoon? Not even gonna go for it there, as Kerp already back to the safety of his tower.
Quite smart play from Kerp actually, using that Urchin Strike to dash through his opponent, and that allowed him to get the distance he needed before Playful Trickster was even employed. So just a mastery of his assassin, and really the most prevalent Fizz player, I think, in the West. You know, at least at LCS level. You don't really see too many other mid laners running that Fizz, and KottenX is going in on Mimer.
There's a dive in there. Can they get the damage down? Mimer just casually sauntering off back towards his turret range, and that was a lot of time that KottenX actually spent up there waiting inside of the brush.
Yeah, and it didn't work out in his favor at all. And, you know, Mimer's got a health advantage. He's really punishing Kevin. You actually heard the HP ping there, so taking a whole lot of damage. And if you look at Kevin's flashing red, so Mimer came out ahead in that little moment.
And close one, actually, there. And again, you have to feel an ignite would have always been beneficial there for the kill. But you only get 2 summoner spells, and, well, flash the safe one. And the teleport, of course, a mandatory, really, for these top laners these days. So, a quiet start, I think we can say, to this one. No first blood. We're only 5 minutes in. I think I've become accustomed here in 4.10 to seeing lots of bloody action at the very start of games.
Yeah, the thing is, it can escalate very quickly. Because of the junglers on both sides, as well as, you know, Braum on Super Hot Crew to help set up ganks, as well as KottenX playing Lee Sin and Leona, when action kicks off, it will be thick and it will be fast. Mimer blew his flash and they're going on Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin got no flash in there for this one. Cocoon gonna land Kevin in some real trouble. Jumps away to the ward. Repel comes down. Where's the damage? One more auto will do it. And Impaler sinks his teeth in for the first blood.
We talked about Impaler playing Elise. He went unkilled yesterday against Gambit. He secures first blood in the top lane thanks to very smart play. Mimer forced Kevin's flash earlier, and that is what allowed that gank to happen. So smart play by Impaler. And you know what? He can rinse and repeat that. If Kevin pushes that lane out and tries to, you know, CS past the river, Impaler can punish him again. KottenX, strong invade, can steal away the Wolfcam.
Deep in enemy territory. We've seen him a couple of plays out of KottenX where you think you're in a dangerous position there that has backfired on him. This bottom lane, well, as we look at it, being very, very quiet so far. And those 2 melee supports maybe not offering as much harassment and potential to really poke people down and then start off a fight to try and lock up kills. Some of the other range supports. Either way, KottenX has finished his time now inside of the Super Hot Crew jungle, and will be just backing out to go and heal up.
Yeah, both of the supports want to get to level 6. I think it's easier for Leona to set up a kill in lower levels than Braum, thanks to her passive and getting the damage from that sunlight over and over, whereas Braum needs multiple auto attacks. But on the same token, because of the bonus armor and MR that Braum can give somebody, as well as that massive shield, it sort of negates that potential kill threat. So MrRalleZ and Creaton, along with the supports, just doing a good job at CSing. They're completely even. And I don't expect to see anything until jungle pressure gets involved. Let's see if Impaler can dodge the ulti.
Well, the ultimate is going to come his way. SELFIE going to come around the side, though. Shield will be put in. Can they chase up for the damage here? Kerp going to be forced to flash over the top. And Super Hot Crew doing a good job there, but KottenX coming in. There's the dive on towards Impaler. Wild Gun comes in. Kerp surely going to go down. He does fall as Impaler flashes away. KottenX follows him through. Impaler's still alive. They do get him, but Rise comes down for another one. And now Kevin being bullied by SELFIE, who doesn't have much mana left. That means Kevin's safe.
Very, very good bait by the Super Hot crew. I feel like Impaler and SELFIE played that one perfectly. It really looked like they were anticipating the re-engage from KottenX and from Kerp, because the second Kerp jumped over that wall, SELFIE hit him with the wild growth, or rather hit Impaler with the wild growth, which connected with Kerp. So good 2-for-1, kill in Impaler's hands, in Mimer's hands, and a kill in SELFIE's hands. Spreading the love to the whole Super Hot crew.
And they're doing so well. If you look at the farm as well, you're 42-32 in the top lane, 66-40 in the mid lane. There's a couple of CS difference between the AD carries as well. So everything really, so far, so good coming out of the Super Hot crew. We're only 8 minutes into this one though, and we know once Kerp now at level 6, once he starts moving around the map, that's where Millennium are at the dangerous.
Yes, I agree with you, and I would dare say that Super Hot crew are at their dangerous now. Because their lanes are more in their favor, Mimer obviously being ranged against Jax and having that Rune Prison means as long as he plays intelligently, he should be able to negate some of the threat. Save the Rune Prison until after Jax leaps on you. Then hold him in place, avoid the counter-strike. Similarly for SELFIE and his ranged abilities.
Teleport coming down from Mimer. Actually, they're going to go here, possibly towards Kerp, who is trying to dive through on that one. They want to try and lock down Mimer. Kerp is going to get knocked in the air, and that is a kill for Kerp. Mimer not able to do anything there. That was a little bit lackluster, to be honest, out of the Super Hot crew.
I think miscommunication from the Super Hot crew. Mimer teleported in, SELFIE was not able to get there quickly enough, and neither Impaler nor Mimer had their flash available. So Mimer couldn't get out of the pit, and obviously Impaler wasn't in the pit, the blue buff pit, to actually make that work. So unfortunate for the Super Hot crew, they just bit off more than they can chew, and Millennium grabbed their second kill of the game.
Will, however, be securing their own blue buff here. They'll be going in the mid lane to SELFIE. And of course, Kerp also actually didn't get the blue buff there, so see where that actually went to in just a second. And if it was smited away by KottenX just to make sure that they had that one all safe. This bottom lane been very uneventful so far, in a big farm lane from both sides of it. The CS very even between them as well, and in fact both players almost on identical builds up until now. Cutlass are both, Doran's Blade, just the boots, the real difference for MrRalleZ.
Yeah, and I like seeing Creaton going for the Ghost Blade, Blade of the Rune King Ghost Blade build is what he's gesturing towards. It does seem to be the more effective Lucian build, and KottenX for the second time this game is like hanging out in that bottom lane. He doesn't stick around quite as long as he did in the top lane, but we'll see if Kevin's going to get dove. SELFIE with blue buff and wild growth. He's going to scan, so he clears out the ward. So Super Hot crew have done a pretty good job of contesting and trying to challenge Millennium's blues. It does look like they're trying to put pressure on KottenX and Kerp in and around that middle lane. And I think Impaler's done a fairly good job of ganking. But Super Hot crew, oh, they've caught Kerp out.
Oh, Kerp a bit locked up here. We'll see if he can actually get away from it. Actually, he's going to turn things around, going on towards SELFIE. Q's connected. Wild growth used by SELFIE on himself. And that will actually keep him safe there, not going down. And we see that already Kerp starting to do a lot of damage with that Sheen in there.
Yes, SELFIE actually did this yesterday as well, against the Copenhagen Wolves. When he was playing Lulu, he doesn't burn his flash, or he doesn't waste his summoner spells without really feeling a threat. And all he did is just get the wild growth down. That was all it needed to negate the pressure and the presence from both KottenX and Kerp. So very smart play. But both of these teams are quite equal for the time being. KottenX is sticking around. He's going to come in the middle lane. So we're back in a 2v2, and the Sonic Wave misses. So less engaged. Impaler's baiting Kerp.
Oh, they're going to try and fight this one. Actually, Cocoon goes out, and I think they were feeling, okay, wild growth's not up. Let's not take this fight. Kerp didn't have his ultimate either. Down in the bottom lane, we can see the 2-on-2 continuing there to stick together. Top lane as well, there was a bit of pressure coming in on towards Kevin, but he should be fine to just sit underneath that turret and be healthy.
Yeah, it definitely looks the case. So, as you highlighted, Joe, a slower start to this game, you know? A real passive laning phase in terms of the laners. The only action that we have really seen has been around that blue buff of Millennium's side of the map. Super Hot crew have made somewhat of a concerted effort to get in there, and it hasn't necessarily worked out for them all the best.
So, Jree is going to go in aggressive on this one. I'm quite surprised with how that's actually all been going on in there. Kerp continues to farm, still about 10, 15 CS behind that of SELFIE. But now, is he going to beat Roman up towards the top? He just walked over that pink ward, and that basically says he's not going to get a chance to make an impact anywhere else on the map.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the biggest thing for me is whether or not the Super Hot crew can make this next gank happen. There's definitely presence. They're going on Kevin.
Kevin going to get locked up here. There's a lot of damage coming out. He has to flash away from that one. Has KottenX got enough here to stop the kill coming down? He might find himself actually being the man that falls, managing to walk away, safeguard to the minion. Tower is up. Are they going to dive it? There's a lot of damage out of Impaler. It looks like he does want to dive it. He goes back into spider form, but KottenX gets away.
That's a smart play from Impaler. He was diving very, very deep, and if it continued that pressure, there was going to be the potential of a counter engage. Super Hot crew are more proactive in this game, and Millennium are trying to bide their time. They want Fizz to get more ability power and more damage. They want Kevin to get levels and CS, and it looks like Kerp is looking for SELFIE before he just gets turned into a little munchkin.
Oh, poor Kerp. Gone from a fish to a squirrely-looking thing. Not sure exactly what it is. Squirrely-looking thing works.
Squirrely-looking thing works as well. I always just say munchkin because it's non-descriptive.
Yeah.
Lulu turns you into a munchkin, and, you know, you can't get in trouble for calling it wrong.
That is true. So, farm, actually, SELFIE doing a good job at the moment, managing to, in fact, increase the lead that he built up a little bit from earlier on. But a very quiet kill. I mean, you can't even compare this game, of course, to the last one. Obviously, I mean, this is one of those clashes, the kind of mid-of-the-table clash that they're so important in the grand scheme of things, because while it might not, you know, be a fight for first place or a fight to get out of the relegation zone, these are the games that make the difference when it comes to your playoff seeding come the end.
Yes, very, very true. And for both of these teams, it's a proving ground battle. You know, for Millennium, they're trying to prove to everybody that they can play with the big boys and they can compete at the top of the table. Super Hot crew, they took down SK Gaming yesterday. So, you know, they're also looking to just continue establishing that brand and continue building up their fan base. The thing that I like about this game is with the champions that are quite pick-heavy, Leona, Fizz, Lee Sin, it's actually Super Hot crew that are playing more aggressive. It's Super Hot crew that have been putting some focus, putting some effort. An easy dragon. Millennium are not even in place. And if you just look at Vision, they had knowledge of it, but they just weren't in place. They were too late to respond.
No, nowhere near that one there. Not able to do anything about it. Meanwhile, kaSing down the bottom, well, he uses his shield, and there's not really too much of a problem for him after that. I thought that might be a little bit more one-sided. Doesn't seem to be the case by the end of it.
Yeah, he had a teammate that he was able to jump over to, which worked out in his favor, of course. That stand behind me, just giving him that safety net, as it were. So, Impaler is now moving to this bottom lane. He is hanging out in the tri-bush, Flash is available, and his ganks top have been pretty effective. Keep in mind kaSing's got that Glacial Fissure as well, so the potential to jump in will be good. They just need to avoid Solar Flare from Jree. And as I'm getting excited about it, they are going to back away.
Well, that's how this bottom lane has gone up until now. Both AD carries enjoying their time of farming. 145 CS basically for the both of them up until now. As Kerp has finally managed to get away from that mid lane. Meanwhile, down on the bottom, Ultimate's going to come out. Who are they going for? Creaton's gone low. Jree actually will use a good Solar Flare, but he's already locked up by the Cocoon. The damage coming back. One more will do it. MrRalleZ that gets the kill. Creaton drops super low as well.
Yeah, some of the heal was there to keep him alive. I'm not sure the poison would have been enough. But regardless, again, just a very good play. Super Haku combo with Impaler to grab themselves the kill. And I do want to give Jree a high five because he almost made it out. Uses the Zenith Blade onto the Super Crew members and then landed a two-man stun with the Solar Flare. It's by far Jree's most impactful champion. Anyways, Mimer's found KottenX. That's a lot of damage.
That is a big burst of damage. Rod of Ages, of course, is done now. And look at this, SELFIE's coming around as well. As the turret is going to be taking down the bottom lane tower. And look at this, SELFIE's managed to catch up to KottenX. He's going to try and dodge away, but he's going to go down. And now Kevin might find himself in trouble. That was a slightly late wild growth, but now Impaler also going to be dove on by Kerp, but he's dancing around the tower there. Kerp actually having to flash away.
Yeah, so Impaler needed to flash away from the playful trickster of Kerp because of the fact that the kill threat was there and there was no ultimate being used. On the same token, Kerp needed to flash away from Impaler's cocoon. So keep in mind, channel on teleport was used by Mimer, but he cancelled it. So we will get a slightly lower cooldown, but that window of opportunity is much lower. 3 full minutes is what it will take before Mimer is able to teleport, which should mean for the next Dragon fight, Kevin and Millennium are in theory going to have the advantage. A lot of damage on Kevin.
Again, yeah. See Mimer getting more and more confident. And good burst that he can put down there on towards Kevin.
And we'll see how that works out for him. You know, Mimer's just pulling ahead. He was down on CS earlier on, and of course, with the time and the ganks from Impaler, he now has a 10 CS advantage, which is obviously going to help him out as this game continues to scale. But I think Super Hot Crew they're not in a place where they need to make plays. They've got a gold lead, they've got a kill lead, they've got a dragon under their belt. They're not under pressure to make overly aggressive or overly risky plays.
So let's, as we approach 20 minutes, take a overall picture look at this game. 5-2 up the Super Hot Crew in kills. It's the gold though that they're sitting on. Almost 4,000 the lead and still tied in turrets. Blade of the Ruin King Brutalizer is done for MrRalleZ now, so this is where he can start sneaking around, or trying to sneak around. He's not being all that sneaky at the moment, stood on top of a ward. This is where he can start really having an impact on this game. In fact, the Super Hot Crew, they've grouped up really fast. This tower's going down.
Yeah, definitely going to be the case. Jree has caught MrRalleZ.
There's a lockup. Can they actually get in for this one, though? Ultimate goes on towards kaSing, and MrRalleZ is going to go down. Kerp gets that kill. Can they get more? SELFIE down to half HP as Kevin is blasting away at him. There's Kerp diving in. It's a double kill for Kerp. Another turret hit, though, with the Ignite burning. Last second shield from KottenX saves the day.
There is exactly what we talked about. In terms of the positioning and the solar flares from Jree, he lands a pixel-perfect ultimate on MrRalleZ, follows it up with even more lockdown, and Kerp just assassinates the rat. So Super Hot Crew, not only do they not get the tower, they give up the kills, and now they've got to fight tooth and nail to prevent Millennium getting further. They can't even defend their own tower. 5,000 gold lead, now only 2,000.
Let's have another look at that one as well. And MrRalleZ, despite being invisible from the start, they didn't finish the turret, but again, it's Jree who'll box them off.
Jree did such a good job. Kerp even manages to hop over the Glacial Fissure from kaSing's Brown. And Kevin, he didn't even need to use his teleport. Before the fight had broken out, he had left the top lane, he was roaming down to the middle lane. And that was just such a strong, confident play from Millennium to punish the over-aggressive player of Super Hot Crew. I was talking about how they didn't need to. You could argue they weren't ready for that sort of speed of the engage from Millennium, because Super Hot Crew definitely felt they could rush that tower and get out cleanly, and it didn't work in their favor.
30 seconds till the second dragon of the game is going to come up. Who's going to be in position for it? Was the Super Hot Crew that got the last one without any fight from Millennium. They did have vision though, so they should be able to get in position for this one. We see that Kevin is actually recalling with 10 seconds to go, so he's going to spend up, probably come back in with a Blade of the Ruin King maybe. Yep, that's going to be bought out for him, so he can TP in if needed. Mimer's TP is also back up though.
So there's a lot of risk involved for both of these teams because of Leona and Brahma's supports. If either Millennium or Super Hot Crew group up as a team and get hit by those ultimates, they run the risk of being popped down. It's quite difficult to judge who will straight up win team fights, because if Rise can teleport in and MrRalleZ gets a good rat-a-tat-tat, he can melt everyone on Millennium. But on the same token, if Super Hot Crew get caught by Leona and Jack stuns, they can get melted by Lucian and Fizz. So it all comes down to grouping and how many targets you can hit with your high CC ultimates, mostly from those supports.
Leo and Jack, two new top-level champions here in League of Legends. The Super Hot Crew wait around for that dragon. There's a ward from Millennium in the back of the pit. There's a lot of pings going down. Actually, Creaton going to get forced away. They're going to go for this one. Fisher doesn't quite land, and there is the solar flare coming down. MrRalleZ the focus, and here comes the rest of the team. Kevin getting the one kill. Who's the next target? They seem to be a little bit split all over the place here. Who are they going to get in? There's the ulti out of Kerp, actually missing.
So unfortunately, Super Hot Crew, they bit off more than they could chew. Creaton just dashes away from the slow of Brahma. He gets out cleanly. So Millennium get another kill onto MrRalleZ, thanks again to a good solar flare of Jree. It's going to give them their first dragon of the game and close up that gold lead even further. We talked about how Millennium just wanted items. Millennium just wanted to hit a power spike. before they played aggressive, and that definitely is the case. They're only now really getting in Super Hot Crews and actually punishing Super Hot Crew for their positional play.
I really like how safe Creaton's actually playing this one as well, sitting back and quite happy to just say, I can't actually get any closer. You get the culling damage, but that's really all you're going to get from me. We also see Lichbane is done there for Kerp, has been for a little while. Going to be going Zhonya's next, and that's with the route that we see him go down pretty much every single time. Means that he can do what he's doing now and be a danger when it comes to split pushing. Can also dive right in the middle of the team and say, bam, Zhonya's bait. You better focus someone else.
Yeah, and with the power of the untargetable from his Playful Trickster, it allows him to actually get out as well. There are very few champions that can jump in with a Zhonya's Hourglass bait and still have the tools to make it out alive. A lot of the time you're reliant on the rest of your team to support you and jump into those fights. For now, Super Hot Crew maintain a lead, but it is ever so slight, because the power has shifted in favor of Millennium. Super Hot Crew have been punished for their moves in their last two team fights, and even though they've got a sizable CS lead in both middle and top, they're behind an AD carry, and you have to feel confidence may not be quite there with the next few engages. They have been punished. Their engages for the last 5 or 6 minutes, Millennium have counted. So the next one might be slower, or it might be more passive from Super Hot Crew.
We've also seen that the targeting from Millennium has been pretty much spot on. Every single time MrRalleZ appears from his ambush, they've thrown the Solar Flare down and managed to focus him before he could really have any impact on those team fights, and we may see them heading off once again. We've got a couple of men on the bottom side there of the river. Kerp was thinking about coming around, but he's quite happy to just go back, farm out this lane, and that turret is so close to going down.
Yeah, if you contrast the vision from the previous game to this game, you can see that both of these teams are significantly less, warding significantly less. Millennium is not looking to invade too heavily because they don't have the vision to back it up, and that's the first time we've seen Millennium move up, and the ward's immediately cleared out. So it's very risky for Millennium to go in for these blind invades, just because of the power that Super Hot Crew do in fact have. Even though you feel like Millennium are now dictating the tempo of the game, one good ultimate from Super Hot Crew and they can win a team fight.
Cleared out by Kevin. He's going back to farm here. Up at 177, is still behind by about 20 to that of Mimer's Rise. And then 1-1-1 after that last team fight in the mid lane. Meanwhile, Creaton, itemization-wise, is level with MrRalleZ. Actually has a CS lead over him with those 2 assists as well. They've both got that Blade of the Ruin King and the Ghost Blade combos already done.
Yeah, you can argue Creaton's tiny bit ahead because his Berserker's Greaves are completed, but that's just me being a bit pedantic. But in terms of raw combat stats, Creaton's done better in team fights because of the fact that he's avoided the CC of the Super Hot Crew. MrRalleZ needs to have much better positioning. Yesterday, when he was playing Kog'Maw, he was never at threat against SK because his team was doing well, and he used all of that range of Kog'Maw to sit on the back line and punish SK Gaming. He doesn't have that luxury in this game because it's so difficult to prevent Jax, Lee Sin, Fizz, and Leona jumping onto a target. So for Super Hot Crew, the rest of their laners have to pick up. It means kaSing can't afford to miss. SELFIE needs to be on point with Wild Growth, and ideally, Mimer and Impaler are enough of a threat that reduces the threat on MrRalleZ. But Millennium are going to get a tower uncontested in the top lane, just from position.
Super Hot Crew half recalling, going back then, starting the recall once again. Kerp actually throwing his ultimate down there, which is not really going to do all that much for him. The Super Hot Crew take that middle turret and they're going to come back. So outer middle turret for an inner top lane turret was the trade for off from Millennium.
It maintains that 3-for-3 trade, but remember Super Hot Crew's bottom lane outer turret is also incredibly low. So if Millennium just walk up and breathe on that one very gently, it will also secure another kill. I think Millennium come out ahead in that trade, but what has happened is Super Hot Crew have taken the last outer turret down. So it may open up either the blue or the red buff side of the jungle for invades from the Super Hot Crew. Get some vision down, and that may open them up to have a more confident dragon fight. There are some wards in their inventory as well as that Sightstone from kaSing. So I think that has to be a point of call. And it looks like it's blue buff wards is where Super Hot Crew have decided to go.
There's a pink ward spotting them out that entire time as well. Check the Death Rush. Something that somehow gets past a lot of teams as well. We've seen Pink Ward surviving for probably far too long in the grand scheme, with people not just checking those normal positions of the death brush and the curved brushes there around the bottom side of the map. Currently though, Millennium, with 40 seconds to go, are ready for the Dragon. A little bit early on, but they want to maintain full control of that one. I'm surprised they've not just gone in there and tanked up one hit of that turret to take it down.
Looks to be the target right now. 25 seconds on Dragon, so the reason this fight is potentially happening is purely around that objective. There's a minion wave for Millennium to play with, and they've got Jack split pushing the top lane. So a lot of things looking good for Millennium. Who's the man that's recalling? Look to be Mimer in that river. So Mimer's going to defend against Kevin. Both top laners are teleporting. They're jumping on SELFIE.
Oh, gonna throw him away. There is the Zonya's coming down, but the fish is already on him. Knock up onto SELFIE. Wild growth himself. Can he get away from this one? Speeding himself up, but has he got the health to get away? Creaton's been focused. SELFIE's still alive. Creaton is gonna go down to Impaler, and look at this. SELFIE somehow survives it. They turn it around, and Millennium are being destroyed here by the Super Hot crew. It's gonna be an ace for one, and then a Dragon. What a turnaround that was.
All of that stems from the fact that MrRalleZ was able to come from the sidelines as well as Super Hot crew splitting from the river. So the damage threats came in late to the party. SELFIE gets away alive. He was the man that was focused down. And thanks to his second item, Zonya's Hourglass, he survives plus the wild growth and gets out. That was just so open. Look at the positioning for Super Hot crew. You're actually going to see MrRalleZ going all the way around from the tri-bush. Impaler and kaSing just really preventing Millennium from staying alive long enough. And I can't believe how close that was for SELFIE. In addition, the teleport from Mimer was enough to focus down Jax and obviously a couple of shots from the tower. But I think just the fact that Millennium got split and Super Hot crew had a good flank is what allowed them to get away with that.
Shield very speed from SELFIE. Somehow getting away from what looked like a definite death on his side. Didn't work that way, and that's the second Dragon of the game going over to the Super Hot crew. Just like that, their gold comes back up to around about 6,000. That's swung, but Millennium have never been in control of that, and losing that big team fight there is going to give them even more insecurities.
Yes, it really will. Unfortunate for Millennium because they threw so much at trying to kill SELFIE, and this is the threat of this mid to late game Lulu. As SELFIE continues to build up that ability power, the shield, the wild growth, the speed that he gets, it's all factors that need to be taken into account. So for Millennium to commit everything onto SELFIE, obviously when it doesn't work out, the plan backfires and they have to turn into full retreat. But look at the wave clear that SELFIE's got. He shoved out mid lane just a few moments ago. Now he's shoving out bottom lane, and he's roaming around the map at an incredible pace. So he's always going to be able to help out other teams or other positions. If Kerp jumps in here, he's going to be jumping into two.
Creaton, though, is going to be there as his support. And, well, red buff's already gone. SELFIE just speeding on out of that. And this is going to be another red buff over for the Super Hot crew as we get a little bit of a pause.
Well, we'll see how quickly we can get back into this game. But
it's like he stole my red buff.
A lot more control. A lot more control, I think, from both of these teams. And
wow, a round of applause for that one.
Not sure if that's...
we need to get Freak over here. They'd be on their feet the entire time.
Not sure if it's a grounds of applause stealing a red buff. But I think for the Super Hot crew, the team fight that they just won is going to help them at least get over the mistakes that they'd made earlier.
Yeah.
Overcommitting to the mid lane, hanging around and MrRalleZ getting caught. And I actually think that elongated route that MrRalleZ took to get into the team fight is a very big determining factor of why they ended up winning. So MrRalleZ has to commit late to these fights to prevent being just, death-balled by everybody on Millennium's side.
Well, we are going to be getting back underway here, hopefully, in just a little bit of time. And that gives us the opportunity as well then to give you the overview on the game and how it stands right now, since we've just gone past the 30-minute mark of the Super Hot crew versus Millennium. And it's the Super Hot crew that have the lead. 5,000 gold plus a little bit. 10-6 up in kills. Tied at 4-4 on turrets. But of course, it's Super Hot crew have had two out of 3 dragons. And we also have to just say they are pretty much in the mid lane mostly, dominated on CS. There's 100 CS difference.
So, ironically, because of the way these two team comps are built up, it's actually quite scary and quite risky to go straight up in a 5v5, because if you do and you initiate late, you can lose the team fight just by being, you know, late to the fight. And what we've seen earlier in terms of Millennium pushing the top lane, Super Hot Crew pushing the middle lane, is if either team can get any sort of advantage in a side lane, they may just commit multiple resources. There's a lot of tankiness on KottenX already. There's a lot of tankiness on Mimer. So if Super Hot Crew can ever get to a tower with, you know, 10, 12, 15 seconds of free time, they may just commit to taking it down. There's a lot of damage from MrRalleZ that can help that out. So I think we may be in for these sort of extended side lane push strategies, and Impaler and Super Hot Crew, they're looking to engage, but look at how quickly Millennium can disengage. So in a turret is the target of the crew.
Look how fast SELFIE is, just speeding down that middle lane. They got no minions here to help them though, so Millennium might be able to force them off, actually taking the long route around, and they need to be quick about this one. Turret not quite losing half of its health. There's a good cocoon from Impaler just to stop KottenX actually getting into them from the side, and they simply trade positions on the map from that one, pretty much forcing each other around. And again, it's the Super Hot Crew that are going to be sat there in front of the Baron.
All right, the one thing you noticed about all that movement is MrRalleZ was hanging way back. The rest of the Super Hot Crew are pushing all the way through the mid lane, and MrRalleZ playing it safe. So SELFIE sitting on the sideline, and again, look for the solar flare. This is really what's about. Kevin, he's gone all in.
Kevin's gone right into the back lines. They're trying to get Mimer, and there is Kerp diving around as well. Solar flare not going to be the most impressive we've seen out of Jree, and that might cost Millennium. They are going to be losing men left and right. KottenX is going to struggle. That's a good kick, but it only prolongs the inevitable. And now Kerp, as the last man, will play full Trickster away. I think he's safe, but they're going to pay the price with turrets here.
Yeah, the rest of the Super Hot Crew just did such a good job in that team fight. Kevin overcommitted. He didn't have the support of his team. Look how late the rest of Millennium are to the fight. And exactly as you highlighted, Joe, the solar flare from Jree hitting nobody. That slowed Mimer in a best case scenario. MrRalleZ untouched, shreds through everybody with a rat-a-tat-tat. And allows Super Hot Crew to come out 4 for 0. They decided not to go for the towers, and instead they've gone for Baron.
Yeah, Baron is going to go down. They did take that inner turret in the mid lane in the process as well. So overall, a good sweeping move from the Super Hot Crew. And, you know, I think the Super Hot Crew, I don't know how confident they really were about fighting that one, but when Kevin dives into your backline, and you basically have at least half of his damage or half of his health away for free without anything else coming in, that's a sure sign that you're going to go and take on the fight there, and they come out ahead of it, and just like that, 10,000 gold lead.
And two things that are very important to note. Kevin on Jax is very reliant on getting a lot of auto attacks down during the course of a team fight. He is dealing with Mimer and Impaler, who both have frozen hearts. So when Kevin jumps into the middle of a team, he's almost guaranteed to be in the aura or the range of at least one of those champions. Because, of course, you know, you extend the range at which you're going to affect your opponents. So for Kevin, for Creaton, for KottenX, who are somewhat reliant on getting multiple auto attacks down, it's more difficult for them to come out ahead. So Super Hot Crew with a Baron, let's see how they siege. I'm not really expecting a tower dive, unless somebody from Millennium is super juicy and gets caught by kaSing.
If today's taught me anything though, expect the unexpected.
Joe, how can I expect it if I don't know what to expect?
Well, you're not wrong, but it's just a saying. God.
I'm just trying to be argumentative.
Well, I know. SELFIE actually will be pushing this top lane up, and that's obviously the single lane that actually still has a turret outside of the base for Millennium, so a pretty obvious target. SELFIE might be able to just spend his time up there all alone. The Super Hot Crew just going to do a ring around through the jungle, take the wolves with them, and then go for that inner turret.
And again, I really just like how the Super Hot Crew are actually moving around the map. For the last 10 or 12 minutes, SELFIE's done a good job at shoving the lanes out. Once the lanes are pushed and moved around, then the rest of the members of the team group up. And MrRalleZ, in the second half of this game, has had much better positioning. He's not been caught down, and he's not been at risk of Jree solar flares, allowing him to just get insta-gift. Take a look at SELFIE once again, pushing out the mid lane, and it looks like SELFIE's even going to go push the bottom lane as well. So it's just very smart map-based play from the whole crew. And solar flare, not ideal, but they've got Mimer.
They're going to follow through on towards Mimer, and they will lose Mimer, and kaSing will be forced to flash over the wall there as well. Millennium took some heavy damage for it, but no one actually died on their side. So that's a nice little pick. We'll see what it offers them in the grand scale. They've got to go heal. Actually, they're just doing it in 1s and 2s so that they don't give up the turret. Nicely done.
Yeah, so one of the things that you notice is while the rest of, while SELFIE's pushing the side lane, the rest of Super Hot Crew just maybe underestimating the vision of Millennium and obviously losing Mimer in the process. Not too bad in the big picture because they still get a dragon. They'll still come out ahead in terms of map presence, in terms of gold. But the question is, how do they break this inhibitor line of turrets? It may be the next Baron. Because if Millennium don't move out of their base and don't put themselves in a position to get flanked or get picked off, Baron may be the only port of call. I'm not even sure if Millennium would be willing to take that fight, considering how poorly the previous one went for them.
No, I don't think so either. Looking for these single chances, these picks where they have superior vision, catching Super Hot Crew out is their real chance. And that's the thing as well, the fact that SELFIE wasn't there pretty much cost him his life, because the wild growth probably in the grand scheme would have saved him from that one. But SELFIE seems to be content with playing this split push game, and that seems to be now even more likely with the finishing of that Lich Bane.
Yeah, and he needs to get to towers though. The Super Hot Crew against SK Gaming, they played very, very passively from 25 minutes to 45 minutes because they didn't want to make mistakes. They didn't want their team comp to backfire. And of course, SK had a very reactive team comp in terms of fighting. Jump in and Zyra knocks you up, Ashe can stun you, etc. So in this scenario, it's somewhat similar that if Super Hot Crew jump onto Millennium and they bite off more than they can chew, Kerp or Creaton or even Kevin, given enough time, can do a whole lot of damage. So Mimer with teleport is pushing top lane. The rest of Super Hot Crew mostly are grouped in middle, but Impaler's not with them. So if Millennium get wind of this, that could be the moment where they decide to jump in.
So, kaSing and the rest of the Super Hot Crew now looking like they may be headed down bottom, getting some pink wards out of reach of Millennium, but still close enough that if these wards come over the top of the wall, they're still going to have the vision of that one. And right now, we have SELFIE again moving to that split push roll down on the bottom side. He's going to have Kevin to join them, both of them. And that's a lie, not both of them have some teleport. Kevin has teleport, of course. SELFIE doesn't have teleport. There's a cocoon landing. Are they going to follow this one through? It's a big burst coming from the side out of Rise, but no follow-on from that. They may tank up this turret now, though, and continued push from SELFIE down the bottom has drawn 2 men down there now.
Yeah, so 4 versus 3 means Super Hot Crew have snuck a few cheeky auto-attacks onto the turret, but it's actually SELFIE in what was a 1v2 that's coming out ahead. He's secured the tower, and this has opened up Super Hot Crew to taking him.
Oh,
SELFIE's got him.
Kevin's dead there. Ignite coming down at the end, and look at SELFIE. He fancies this fight, doing a lot of damage onto multiple members. The inhibitor's going to go down. Will the Super Hot Crew feel comfortable enough to try and win the game right here? They've got loads of shields that are going to give them masses of extra health to tank up the turrets, but it'd be weird considering how safe the Super Hot Crew have played so far to take that risk now, and indeed they start to back away. Middle inhibitor probably going to be the next target.
I dare say SELFIE single-handedly performed that move. Because of how aggressive he's playing with this very high mobility Lulu, he just punishes Millennium the moment they moved away. And in making use of those glitter lances and his speed, he just punished Kevin, dropped him so low he could basically assassinate him. So smart play from SELFIE. They managed to get the first inhibitor of the game, and with Baron up in a minute, they're going back to spend some of the gold. A fair chunk of change on multiple champions. So Super Hot Crew just dragging this one out, playing it by the numbers. No need to overcommit. And of course, when MrRalleZ grabs himself an Infinity Edge, his damage goes up even more.
SELFIE is currently sat on 760 AP, which is going to hurt. I think is possibly an understatement from that as well, with that Lich Bane especially. We've got 20 seconds until the next Baron comes up, and with that recall there of the Super Hot Crew to spend the gold that they've got now, looks like that will be the plan, to wait out for this next Baron. We see that Millennium have already pushed a little bit out of their base here to get those wards down in position, but they seem to be getting cleared out really, really quickly by the Super Hot Crew. And there we see Baron spawning in. They've got Kevin down at bottom, still has TP available.
Yeah, so notice, with Baron up and alive, Millennium have the timer on it, and they have moved out of the base. This is the first time they've done that. in about 10 minutes time. They really are looking to contest, and SELFIE's continuing to push, like you said. And this is what he's been doing the whole time, using that 700 odd ability power to move around the map. So, Cocoon doesn't connect. Look at the rest of Super Hot Crew. They've split up Millennium. Oh, they've jumped on SELFIE.
Oh, gonna go in there. We're all seeing the wild growth used very early. There's the ultimate hour Brom as well as SELFIE now on a rampage. Kerp right in the middle of the team. Needs to get away. Not gonna get away though. He's burst down. Kevin left alone. He will fall as well. And right now, that is 3 men. They're gonna get the fourth. Creaton falls. And this surely will be the game for the Super Hot Crew. Gonna take down this inhibitor as they go through. No super minions coming up the bottom lane just yet. That was pushed back by Kevin. Well, they can tank this one up. They've got a minion wave coming in as well. And Jree all alone can't stop the Super Hot Crew. Are going to pick up the win here in 42 minutes over Millennium.
The Super Hot Crew with a perfect champion pick against a pick-based composition. Lulu saving the lives of himself and his teammates when needed. And that was just a fairly controlled game. Super Hot Crew played it patiently, played it passively, waited for their opportunities, and actually SELFIE created a whole bunch of opportunities. I'm very impressed with his Lulu that game. It's a slightly different style, a slightly more aggressive style of Lulu than we're used to seeing, and it worked out.
And you said it yourself, when SELFIE does well, the Super Hot Crew have been picking up victories or at least pushing teams very, very close. 6-1-10 for him by the end of it. For Millennium, outside of those couple of picks that I think made the Super Hot Crew feel a little bit unsafe and really not second-guessing maybe their tactics and these fights that they're going to take after MrRalleZ got caught out twice by those solar flares, but just shows you that if you win one team fight, it can inject a lot of confidence.
Yes, it really can. And you actually can't even fault Super Hot Crew for making those plays in the early game, because I think, you know, if they'd had 2 seconds longer, they could have got the tower and probably backed away.
Yeah.
But it was just the difference of 1 or 2 seconds and just how quick Jree could engage in landing every skill shot, and Kerp doing the similar thing. So it's one of those things where it literally is a moment of 1 or 2 seconds difference. Could have been a different turn of events, but it doesn't matter, because even though Super Hot Crew lost those plays, they still controlled the map, they regained control, and it's what we talked about. If Millennium weren't going to get ahead early, Super Hot Crew had the better map-based play. They demonstrated it again.
Really doing well, keeping that vision up across the entire time. And kaSing, just to highlight, 0-0-12 again on Brom. The lane phase from both teams, actually, especially in that bottom lane, was so super safe. We didn't really see much jungle interaction in there, but it just shows you playing it safe, getting your items, and then moving into the team fights, working out for both of these teams. So, SHC is actually standing by with the Super Hot Crew's Impaler on stage, so let's send it over there.
Thank you very much, Joe. Congratulations, Impaler. Obviously, Millennium is known for playing pick comps, and you guys dismantled it very well in this game. Tell me how you guys exactly did that.
We figured we'd try and end up with Lulu mid, because she's like classically good against pick comps. You've got the massive shield, the big HP gain from the ultimate, and from there it's just like we kite them back a little and we just fight it out and we win.
Well, SELFIE's ultimates were definitely on point to make that work. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I do feel like the synergy between you and him has gone up in the last couple of weeks. I don't know if you agree, but how did you establish that?
We're just trying to work together more, and hopefully it's working out. I mean, we got pretty good KDAs, so lots of fantasy points, and that makes both of us happy.
Absolutely, lots of fantasy points. Now, of course, you guys had good super weeks in the past. I'm referring to the beginning of the spring split, and then it kind of went downhill a little bit from there. How are you going to try and keep this up 3-1 now going into the rest of the season?
We're just going to try and have sufficient preparation for every game in the Super Week, because when you're playing like 2 games in 1 day, you can often overlook one and focus too much on one other. But we're trying to just keep every game as consistent as possible and like the same plan, same pick and bans. Like the level of consistency needs to improve, and that's what we're working on the most.
Well, you guys did amazing. 3-1 here in Super Week. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, we got to take a quick break, but when we come back, the Copenhagen Wolves take the stage once again to fight SK Gaming. And as we roll out, check out the Copenhagen Wolves' storied history of landing top 80 carries and some Throwback Thursday reminiscing from the FI show.
So the Copenhagen Wolves always seem to find good 80 carries, even when people think they're done. This is it, they're never gonna find a replacement who's good enough. They always seem to find someone. So the very first generation of Copenhagen Wolves League of Legends was with myself and the Tess. And we managed to qualify for the very first LCS, especially with the Tess playing so well in the qualifier here.
and the Tess is just tearing them apart. He picks up a double, he picks up a triple. Can he get the quadra? Just an arcane ship will do it. No, there's the quadra kill from the Tess, and he just destroys Millennium.
Fast forward here, completely different Copenhagen Wolves lineup. We now have the lineup with Kautar, with Youngbuck. Reckless was part of it, while he still was part of Fnatic.
Reckless were pretty known when we picked him up. He was playing with Fnatic in a couple of big tournaments in the States. We basically just borrowed him for the time being.
I knew I was just playing for a limited time. Until I turned 17, I was able to join Fnatic. So I really like every one of them. They're one of my closest friends, like around here. So I want the best for them. I want them to be successful.
So once he left, and once Shook left the Copenhagen Wolves lineup back then, everyone was like, you know what, this is it, they're done, the two biggest stars, they're gone. They managed to pick up Forgiven, who was one of the best AD carries in Europe in the last split.
Oh, the Sonic Wave didn't land, and now Amazing's in trouble. He's taking another tower hit, but he gets away with the safeguard. Oh! From downtown, Forgiven uses the rocket straight on the tower.
Now Forgiven is gone, people once again said there's no way they're gonna replace this guy. They find Woolite, and now he's playing so well in the LCS.
It was probably the best AD pickup from solo queue you could get because he's a very young player, has very strong mechanical play.
Diamond has come back in. He may pay the ultimate price. A double kill coming out for Woolite. There's another one. Well, that is a 4 for 2 in favor of the Wolves.
I think for starters, there are many good AD carries in Europe.
Everyone wants to get to LCS or to go to Challenger team.
It's like a two-sided coin where good players come in, they play for a while and they leave. I hope that they find the right 5 players as soon as possible, and Woolite and Airbox might be the right choices.
Every time I had to change AD carry, I didn't care about their personality, I didn't care about what they think. I was prepared to get used to play with them, so maybe that helps to get used to different AD carries, and that's why every AD carry I played with played so well.
Yeah, definitely they have a good eye for the AD carries in Challenger scene. I'm definitely happy.